Hello and welcome to this tutorial on Audacity. Today we're going to learn how to record, edit, and export an MP3 audio file. So you'll start in Google right here at the beginning. And so to download Audacity, you just type in Audacity and find a trustworthy source for Audacity. I use SourceForge whenever I find them. And then you can click on the download button. And once you've successfully downloaded Audacity, you'll have an icon kind of like this one. You can click on that Audacity button and it will open up Audacity looking just like this. So you actually could jump up here and just hit the record button and you're off and running. But you might want to look around and find out what some of these buttons are, and you'll notice that if you hover over the top of any of them, a label will pop up. So you might want to look around and find out where the zoom buttons are. You might want to figure out how to turn your speakers up and down. Okay, this is the microphone's recording volume. Make sure that you have the right equipment selected. I'm just using the built-in microphone, nothing fancy right now, and the built-in output speakers. And I'm going to try and record in mono just for kicks, keeping it simple. So if I click on the record button, hello friends and welcome to another episode of the Coffee Pot Fellowship, what is it? Podcast. And then you click on stop, hit play. Hello friends and welcome to another episode of the Coffee Pot Fellowship, what is it? Podcast. And then you click on. Okay, so we recorded exactly what we said. No surprise there, right? And I made this little mistake so that we can have something to edit. So this is where the mistake was, if I remember correctly. So if you click up here in the gray, I've learned that it will play. What is it? Podcast. What is it? Podcast. So I'm going to click stop. I'm going to take my mouse over there and I'm going to drag it over the top of the part that I want to edit. Okay, so I'm going to grab that mistake and I can just click on the delete button. If I hit the delete button, it's actually a ripple delete. And by ripple delete, I mean everything on the right will slide to the left and close the gap that would have otherwise been left here. So now what does it sound like? And welcome to another episode of the Coffee Pot Fellowship podcast. Okay, the words are right, but it still sounds a little unnatural, right? There's still more gap here than we would really want. So I'm going to delete a little more space, delete. I'm going to try again. Do another episode of the Coffee Pot Fellowship podcast. Okay. And that's better, but I also don't want this piece at the end, do I? So I'm going to grab the end and hit the delete button. I'm also going to point out here this gain button, because I'm sort of soft-spoken. I like to turn this up and make sure that people can hear me. So I'm going to play it again and I'm going to adjust this gain, but while I play with this left and right, I want you to look up here at this meter. It's going to go from green to yellow to red at the end. And we want it to be in the yellow, but not into the red. Okay? It's okay if you go into the yellow, but not into the red. So you really just want to touch into the yellow. So I'm going to go back to the beginning and hit play. Hello friends and welcome to another episode of the Coffee Pot Fellowship podcast. Just a little bit too loud, but I'm going to leave it there because people can always turn you down, but if they've turned you all the way up and they still can't hear you and their volume is maxed out on their device, they're going to be frustrated because they just can't hear you. So I like to give as much input in the creation as possible without distorting anything. So sometimes you may be shocked at the beginning of my podcast if it sounds really loud and you have to turn your volume down. But the worst scenario to me is that you turned it all the way up and you still can't hear. I get really frustrated when I hear episodes of recordings like that, whether it's It's not usually music, but a lot of times podcasters will be too quiet. All right, so now we've recorded, we've edited, we're happy with our product, and now it's time to export. If we click on File and go down to Export Audio, you can give your podcast recording here a name. I'm just going to call it Test, and you can choose what folder you want to put it in, and you can choose what format you actually want to export it in. For podcasts, we want to make sure that it's an MP3 file. You're going to click on Save, and initially you won't have all this information in here, so whatever is in here, you don't actually need to worry about it. Just go straight down to click on OK, and you're going to export it. And you can find that in whatever folder you just placed it in.